Hello everybody and welcome back to CogX 2021. This is our final session for Monday, but do please join us again tomorrow if you're here live in person in this space. You can hear Anne Bowden talking about how London retains its fintech crown, and we'll also have Ewan Blair talking about alternative universities. And if you're watching online anywhere in the world, you can find this and many more events all via the CogX platform. I'm delighted to introduce our last speaker of the day, who is David Mattin. He is the author of New World, Same Humans, a very well-read newsletter, and he's going to be talking about 3 AI trends that are going to change the world from 2022. Over to David.
Thank you so much. Hello, everyone. Thank you for that lovely introduction. Okay, as you just heard, my name is David. I write a newsletter about the future called New World, Same Humans. And one of the things I write about most often in that newsletter is trends. The trends reshaping the mindsets, the behaviors, the expectations of people all over the world. We are AI people here today. We're technology people. If you're watching online, you might be an economy person. So what I've done for this session is just choose 3 AI-fueled trends, 3 powerful trends that I want to put on your radar in this session. Each of these trends will change behaviors, mindsets, expectations in the years ahead. Each of them will reshape the economy and the broader business environment. And crucially, each of them too is an opportunity. Each of these trends is an opportunity to innovate. So I hope some of you listening will take these trends, take one of these trends and use them, apply them, do something with the trend to create something that people love. There's huge opportunity for that right now. We all know that we're living through a moment of incredible change. This is how futurists told us we'd live 2020. This is how we actually lived 2020. He's supposed to be anxious, by the way, not happy. Some people think he looks happy, but he's supposed to be anxious. That is sparking all kinds of big questions. And one of the big questions is our relationship with technology. We all want to know how our relationship with technology is going to change in the years ahead. Here's the thing with all this change. It can throw you off balance. It's very hard to know how to make sense of it all, how to orient yourself when we're living through a moment of such rapid and seemingly chaotic change. But there is a simple, powerful core truth that can empower you to start to make sense of all this, that can empower you to start to see signals, meaningful directions of travel, meaningful trends within the change. And that truth is this: look, there's lots of change, but amid all that, we are still the same old human beings with the same old basic human needs and wants. So human beings are motivated by a set of basic needs, things like value, convenience, security, love. They are very stable. They don't really change decade on decade, century on century. And trends are made of those 2 building blocks. On the one hand, change. On the other hand, basic human needs. In fact, to be more specific about it, I say this. I say that new trends emerge when some change in the world, often a new technology, unlocks a new way of serving one of these age-old universal human needs. And that's what the 3 trends I'm going to talk to you about in this session are all about. They're about new ways to serve age-old, powerful human needs. AI is the change we're looking at. AI is the thread running through this talk. I'm not an AI expert. I'm obsessed with people. I'm obsessed with human beings and how their behaviors and mindsets are changing. We're going to look at how AI is unlocking new behaviors, new mindsets, new expectations among human beings out there in this decade. Okay, so with all that said, let's race on to trend number 1. Trend number 1 starts here. AI and the life sciences. We know that AI is having a particular moment right now around the life sciences. We all saw DeepMind's AlphaFold solve the iconic protein folding problem a few months ago. And if you talk to analysts, they say, in terms of AI's ability to create real-world innovations, real-world advances that impact the economy in this decade, The life sciences are one of the key verticals where that is all set to play out, okay? At the same time, you have hundreds of millions, billions of consumers, of human beings all around the world who have been primed across the last decade, the last 15 years, to look to technology to optimize their health and well-being, okay? The quantified self was once a trend, now it's just daily life. Hundreds of millions, billions of people around the world leveraging devices to measure and optimize all kinds of personal metrics, health, wellness, cognitive metrics, emotional metrics. Health and wellness, well-being, is one of those powerful age-old human needs that's always been with us, that always will be with us. And what I want to say with this trend is that AI is going to be brought to bear on that human need. That brings me to this first trend, optimization options. It's about saying when you put this entire picture together, you're going to see consumers out there demanding, embracing new tools, new services that leverage this moment in AI to enable them to optimize their health, their well-being, to optimize themselves, essentially. Let me show you some examples of what I mean by this trend. Here's a fun one to start with. Here's some innovators who really know how to collide change and a basic human need. When the pandemic broke out, 3 developers in the US launched this. It's a platform called Do Not Touch Your Face, and it does one very simple thing. It leverages a webcam and machine learning to help the user stop touching their face, okay? So look, you have the long run change, which is this, the rise, the emergence of AI, okay? You have the short-term change, what you might call the trigger, which is the pandemic. Then on the other hand, you have this age-old basic human need for health and wellness. These people very quickly in March 2020 smashed all these together, came up with this platform, Do Not Touch Your Face. So, you switch on your webcam, you go to the platform, you train the algorithm to know when you are touching your face, and then you leave it on, and whenever you do touch your face, it sends you a little alert. Now look, clearly there's more than a hint of playfulness about all this. It's a kind of joke, it's a kind of example of the sorts of things we can expect AI to help us with. What does it look like though when this same set of principles, this same set of changes and underlying basic human needs is used in a way that's more serious? Look at this. Google say they get 10 billion searches related to skin, nail, and hair conditions every year. And even they admit that those text-based searches don't deliver a great experience. It's very hard to describe your skin condition or your nail condition in text, in language. And so the results you get back aren't great. That's a clear economic opportunity. Google are trying to leverage that opportunity now. They're about to launch a new tool that enables the user to take 3 photographs with their phone of their skin condition. That data is analyzed by an AI that's been trained on a whole ton of data and comes back with an attempted diagnosis. This is what your skin condition is, okay? So it's the same set of underlying principles, the same basic human need for health and wellness, and AI unlocking a new way to serve that basic human need. Look at how that might play out in the real world, as it were. This is from China. This is a company, a tech company in China and health company called Ping An Good Doctor. They're launching thousands of AI-fueled, essentially staffless health kiosks all across the country. They started in 2019. It's still rolling now. It's going to go through 2022. It's kind of like a photo booth. You step inside. There's an AI doctor inside. It asks you some questions. You take some pictures. It can deliver a diagnosis. It will send you through to a webcam chat with a real doctor if it thinks it's necessary. And if it's necessary, it will give you a prescription. The 100 most prescribed medicines are there, right there in the kiosk, and you can use your prescription to get your hands on your medicine straight away. If not, you can take it to a pharmacy. So yeah, again, the basic human need for health and wellness, AI unlocking a powerful new way to serve that basic human need. Now, if you're thinking about applying these trends, I'm not showing you these examples to just say, go and copy that. I don't think you're going to necessarily go and launch a platform that helps people stop touching their face. I don't think you're going to launch kiosks, AI-fueled health kiosks. Maybe you are, probably not. I'm showing you these examples to signal to you the underlying principles and the underlying set of expectations. Like when people can immediately during a pandemic access a platform that helps them stop touching their face, when they can get an immediate AI-fueled skin diagnosis, or when you can step in off the street to a staffless health kiosk and get a prescription, what do people start to expect? How does that generate, generate new expectations? What do people start to expect from you? It doesn't have to be about diagnosis and prescriptions. It can be about things like counseling, advice, coaching. This is ArtiFit. This is essentially an AI-fueled fitness coach. So you put your phone, on a tripod, and it's using image recognition to deliver coaching to you and optimize your form as you perform physical exercises. The final thing I'll say about this trend is, look, the basic human need and the quest for health and wellness is very bound up with another really powerful human need, and that's status. Human beings are status-seeking animals. They seek out things that mark themselves out as special among their peers. Traditionally in our consumer societies, that quest for status was a lot about material objects. It was a lot about expensive objects that say, I have a lot. We're getting so rich now that those kinds of objects are losing their status power. And the quest for status inside consumerism now is a lot more about, not so much about what I have, it's more about who I am as a person. Okay, I am more cultured, I am more enlightened, yes, I am healthier, I am cognitively better. So health and wellness is a powerful part of that quest for status. We saw it with the quantified self and people sharing their runs on Runkeeper and getting all competitive about that. I think the next evolution of that health and wellness status quest will be about leveraging AI tools to optimize that quest for health and wellness and help you broadcast it to others. So yes, 3 dimensions to take away for this trend. If you're thinking about applying it, if you want to go and use this trend, could you think about tools to change behavior? Could you think about diagnostics and prescriptions? Could you think about coaching and wellness? And underneath it all, it always pays to think about status. Think about the ways human beings are status-seeking animals and how that intersects in the 2020s with the quest for health and wellness. Okay. Let's race on to trend number 2. Here's another big, powerful, basic human need for all of us. Creativity. Humans are creative animals. That's always been a part of our nature. And we've always sought to amplify our creativity with tools. Okay, with tools for creators. Part of what I want to say with this trend is very simple. AI is going to become one of those tools. It's going to become a tool that intersects with the basic human need for creativity. We're already totally accustomed to AI as a tool for industrial design. Okay, so a ton of you would have seen United Airlines are launching supersonic passenger flights. They say they're going to be going by 2029. They're partnering with these people, Boom Technologies, to make it happen. The reason the Boom Overture supersonic passenger jet is economically viable in a way that Concorde never quite managed to be is because it's a lot more fuel efficient, and one of the reasons it's more fuel efficient is about wind resistance, okay? The people who designed Concorde were able to do 12 wind resistance tests in a big air tunnel, 12, and every single one cost a fortune. Boom Technologies can do tens of thousands of virtual wind resistance tests in simulated environments, and they have AI to crunch all that data, so their fuselage is hugely more fuel efficient, kind of wind resistant efficient. And that's why this object is possible now, or it's a part of the reason this object is possible now. So if we're thinking about the way AI is going to impact the real economy, I think we are going to see an explosion of AI-designed objects that are newly possible thanks to the ways AI makes them more efficient, more viable, and so on. But we're now going to see AI too become a tool in the hands not just of industrial designers, but of artists. We're going to see it start to influence the highest forms, what we consider the highest forms of art. And I think we'll end up in a place eventually where we come to see that AI has a way of seeing the world all of its own. Okay, so this trend, machine artisans, is about saying human creativity and AI creativity are going to merge in the 2020s, and that has profound implications for the expectations of people out there who are consuming creative outputs. It has implications for creators, and it has implications for the wider economy too. Before we get onto the art side of things, let's look at product design, and let's take one very particular type of product design, craft beer. We've lived through a craft beer revolution or resurgence across the last 10, 15 years, and the craft brewer has become synonymous with our picture of the artisan. This is our picture of the craft brewer, okay? It's about the individual or the collective in their basement, obsessively refining the beer recipe, and so on. It's about that sacred relationship between human and beer, okay? Check this out. This is Brauer.ai. This is a partnership between a German microbrewery and machine learning people at the University of Lausanne in Switzerland. Those machine learning people trained an AI on over 60,000 beer recipes. And now they have a tool where if you put in one beer ingredient, this AI will automatically start to match it with other beer ingredients that go very well with that one. And then it's got two, and then it will go on and on and on. And you get to a beer, supposedly this beer, that becomes a kind of reflection of the aggregate, the total set of human knowledge about beer handed down through all the ages. Okay? And the reason I show you this example is I just want us to think about, what if our vision of an artisan product changes? What if the ultimate artisan product in the 2020s is not the one crafted by hand because there's an obsessive human being, an obsessive human craftsman behind it? What if we come to see or believe that the best, most artisanal, best crafted products are in fact crafted by an AI because they have a total set of knowledge that far exceeds anything possible for a human being, or at least crafted by an AI and a human working in tandem? Okay, craft beer and AI seem to be pretty obsessed with one another because actually there's quite a few examples of this. This was a beer called Intelligent X. This was launched in the UK a few years ago. They added in another dimension, which is customer feedback. So they wanted a constant stream of feedback from the people drinking the beer, and that was going to help tune the AI, which was going to be constantly iterating the beer recipe based on the feedback they were receiving. So an artisanal product that constantly changes in response to the reactions, the feedback of the people consuming the product. Okay, what if we come to believe that that is the true artisanal product, not something created by, the visionary human? It's not just going to be about products. Think too about creative services. This is CopyAI. This is a business that's been on a fascinating journey for the last year or so. 6, 9 months. CopyAI is founded by a guy called Paul Yakubian, and he was one of the first people to get his hands on GPT-3, which, as you guys all know, is OpenAI's amazing language model that generates incredibly convincing, sort of near human-like text outputs when you give it a prompt. So he got his hands on that language model GPT-3, and he used it to fuel this business, CopyAI. And CopyAI is all about generating marketing text. So you give this platform a few prompts about your product or your brand vision, your company, whatever it is, and it starts to output marketing copy for you. And it's been on an incredible journey across the last 6 to 9 months. The market has really responded to it. Paul Yakubian has been very transparent about the growth of this business. He's built the business in public, as they say. Past 3,000 paying customers recently, doing millions of dollars a year in annual revenue. So we're going to see AI brought to bear on what we consider truly creative outputs too, truly creative services. You might be thinking, well, it's only marketing copy, that's not that creative. I mean, how dare you traduce our friends in marketing in that way? But look, other writers also truly believe, this is Ishiguro, who recently wrote a novel founded in AI, also believe that AI is going to have a powerful impact on language outputs, on what we call literature in the decade ahead. Okay, this is where it starts to get a little bit weirder. OpenAI didn't just create GPT-3 recently, they also created this. It's called the Deepfake Jukebox. They trained this AI on a ton of popular music and then asked it to output music in the style of popular performers, past and present. I'm going to play you the Frank Sinatra one, so just have a quick listen to this and then we'll talk more.
It's Christmas time and you know what that means. Oh, it's hot tub time. As I like the tree this year, will be a song. Oh, it's hot tub time. Extra split time.
Okay, you get the picture. So what has that AI picked up about Frank Sinatra? He likes Christmas, he loves hot tubs, and he's very insistent that you get into one with him. That feels, I don't know about you, to me that feels fairly accurate. That, of course, is fairly humorous. It can become more serious. This is an intriguing example. This is SBS, a South Korean broadcaster. They recently used similar technology to resurrect, essentially, a legendary South Korean folk singer. Okay, I just want to show you a quick clip, a very quick clip of how that looks. So check this out. Okay, yeah, so Kim Kwang-seok died in '96. They got him to sing a song that wasn't written till the early 2000s, and reportedly the sense of temporal dislocation that produced was quite affecting. There were people in the audience in tears. I mean, probably some of them were paid a little bit to be in tears. Maybe some of them weren't. It had a powerful effect on the fans of this legendary singer, okay? I find this extremely intriguing. We're long used to now the reanimation of creative people, of artists, of celebrities, because we have recorded sound and we have recorded video. They remain with us in some kind of strange way. And that creative afterlife can be economically hugely powerful. Like Michael Jackson has earned $1.3 billion since his death, okay, thanks to recorded sound and recorded vision. Recently, the set of technologies we've had to extend that afterlife have expanded. So Whitney Houston was about to go out on a hologram tour of the world in early 2020, and then the pandemic nixed it. So it's going to restart in 2021 in October in Madrid. So you're going to hear a lot more about it soon. I think the next evolution of that is the kind of thing we just looked at. It's becoming apparent that AI vastly enables us to extend the creative afterlife of artists, of celebrities, of creative people, because of its unique ability to distill something of the style of that creator and then play it endlessly forever and ever, okay? So we're going to see dead singers singing new songs like you just saw. We're going to see dead novelists writing new novels. We might see an AI, Stanley Kubrick direct the millionth Star Wars reboot in 2070, like whatever it is. We may become accustomed to the idea that the creator's actual life, the artist's actual life, is only the first stage in their creative output. It's the part where they train the AI, okay, which can then output creative works in their style, essentially, endlessly. And the only other thing I'll say about this is that trends that start among an elite, in this case, a cultural, creative elite, don't tend to stay there. They tend to trickle down to ordinary people too. I don't think that this ghostly form of AI-fueled afterlife will only be, in the end, for creators, for artists, for celebrities. I think it may end up being for all of us. Like, one signal of that is that Microsoft are filing patents that are to do with AI-fueled chatbots that rinse your dead loved ones' social media for data and try to build an AI-fueled version of that person that you can interact with. So this is kind of, reincarnation courtesy of these people. My only caution is to is to think about the exact nature of your reincarnation, because we know they have form for creating some rather annoying characters. So look, machine artisans, think about artisanal designed products, think about creative services like marketing copy, pushing it out to its frontiers, and I know it's some way away yet. Think about this weird, ghostly afterlife that celebrities, that artists will be able to have because of AI, and the economic power of that. And think also about how in the end that trend may trickle down to ordinary, quote unquote, people, okay, and what that's going to mean and where the opportunities lie. Okay, I'm going to race through my final trend because I want to leave time for some questions at the end. Here's a exciting, powerful, basic human need for us to end on: connection. Human beings are hardwired to be social animals. We need connection with one another. Right now, you have hundreds of millions of people all around the world having conversations with AI-fueled entities. Those conversations are very transactional. They're things like Siri, where's the nearest bank? Or Alexa, order me some washing powder. What I want to say with this trend is that the nature of our relationship with these AI-fueled entities is changing. It's becoming about more than just functionality and transaction. It's becoming about a set of higher order human needs too. Things like happiness, creativity, yes, even social connection, even companionship. We're at a really interesting transition moment when it comes to that relationship. And that's what this trend is all about: artificial familiars. It's about the rise of AI-fueled entities that become to us, to a certain extent, friends, counselors, companions. In medieval times, familiars were sort of magical spirits that lived with certain people and assisted them, usually not to do particularly great things. What I'm saying with this trend is we're going to have our own version. We're going to have AI-fueled familiars. Here's a great example of what I mean. This is an AI-fueled chatbot called Replica. If you want a little taste of this trend, if you haven't already, because some of you will have already, download Replica and give it a try. Essentially, it's an AI-fueled chatbot. You talk to it using natural language. At the start, it asks you a ton of questions. It's trying to learn about your personality. And the idea is that over time, it learns more and more about your personality and then becomes a form of mirror that you can look into and learn more about yourself. It's trying to reflect your own personality back to you and become a form of AI counselor. Downloads went crazy during the pandemic. It's been downloaded more than 5 million times. The App Store is full of reviews like this, like very surprising reviews. You know, my Replica amazes me. I didn't think I could be friends with an AI, but here I am. Okay, so if you want a little taste of this trend, give Replica a try. This trend is going to intersect with another powerful trend we see emerging right now: virtual humans, the rise of photorealistic digital characters, digital avatars, essentially, that look and feel just like real people. So we've seen the emergence of virtual human influencers like Lil Miquela. We've seen virtual human pop stars. That's pretty established by now. So this trend is pushing on even further, and we're starting to see the emergence of tools that enable anyone to build their own virtual human. This is the Metahuman creator from Epic Games, and this is a platform that's about just that. It's about enabling you to build your own virtual human. I have a quick video, just check this out, and then we'll talk.
I could be one of many.
Je pourrais être architecte
ou guide.
Quizá un artista.
You create the narrative.
I am Metahuman.
Okay, you get the idea. Now, look, obviously, building a virtual human until recently took a huge amount of skill. It took, weeks to months of work from teams of people. The Metahuman creator is supposed to reduce that to about an hour and make it so easy that anyone can do it. They want it to be like using a Word document, an Excel spreadsheet, something that all of us can do. Now, you'll notice that the Metahuman creator is the work of Epic Games, the people behind Fortnite. And Fortnite is, of course, a famous example now of the emergence of the metaverse, virtual and simulated worlds that are becoming domains of human meaning and experience in their own right. Like Fortnite and these kinds of games, they're more than just video games. They're becoming immersive social worlds where people are having cultural experiences. So pushing this trend to its kind of end state, its logical conclusion, is about saying we're going to see the emergence of AI-fueled virtual humans in metaversal worlds, in simulated worlds. People are going to be friends with AI humans in virtual worlds, is essentially what I'm saying. Now, look, I know that this is getting quite intense and quite technological, so just bringing this trend down to earth a little bit. Here's an example of what virtual humans look like out in this real economy, quote unquote. This is Samsung. Their innovation lab called Star Labs has been working on a range of virtual humans they call neons. They're now starting to push neons out. They think that neons will be great as kind of customer service representatives and ambassadors and advisors for customer advisors for brands, and they're looking to brands to embrace that. This is a South Korean bank that recently put a neon to work in one of its prototype branches, just to give you an indication of how it looks and feels.
안녕하십니까. 고객님의 좋은 친구 신한은행입니다. 방문해 주셔서 대단히 감사합니다. 원하시는 서비스를 말씀해 주시면 안내해 드리겠습니다. 고객님께서 선택하신 펀드 유형의 시뮬레이션 결과입니다. 이용해 주셔서 감사합니다.
So that's how Samsung imagine brands using neons, but the CEO of Samsung says he wants these virtual humans to be available on Samsung devices too in the end. Obviously the smartphone was transformative. The next transformative technology could be the true AI-fueled conversational companion that becomes to the user an advisor, a guider, a counselor, a kind of friend. That would be a hugely powerful, life-changing technology. And look, I'm not saying that the entire economy and all our lives is going to be talking to AI-fueled entities and virtual humans. If you're thinking about applying this trend, every business is going to have access to conversational AIs. Every business is going to be trying to build AI companions, that serve these higher order human needs. So the true competitive advantage will remain the human touch. There will remain lots of things only human beings can do. And those things will be even more important in this world, because everyone's going to have the technology. Can you build the team of enthusiastic, passionate, actual humans that deliver a true human touch that your competitors are not delivering? That's a hugely powerful question for this trend as well. So think about AI-fueled counselors and companions. Think about virtual humans in the metaverse. Think about the human touch as well. Look, I'm going to wrap up. I've given you 3 trends that I hope are useful for you to take away. I hope to have given you just the beginnings of a new way of seeing the world. You see a ton of innovation all the time. If you just ask yourself, when you see all that innovation, a new product, a new service, a new campaign, if you ask yourself a few simple questions, like what's the change in the world fueling this innovation? What basic human need is this innovation tapping into? If you just ask yourself one question, ask, when people see this innovation, what new expectations will it generate? When people see this, what will they start to expect from me, from us, from my team? If you walk around the world asking that question, you will start to spot trends of your own, trends like these that you can take back to your team and apply. Use these trends. Trends are pretty useless if you just know about them. Nothing happens then. You have to use them. Apply the trends to innovate, create new products, services, experiences that people will love. But that is more than enough from me. Thank you so much for listening. It's been super fun. Thank you. Thanks.
David, thank you so much. That's an absolutely fascinating
Thank
talk.
you.
Right, we've got just a couple of minutes for questions. Have we got any in the room at the moment? Okay, can I ask you a quick question? I
course.
think we've got some online as well. You talked about the holograms there. You've mentioned you do a lot of talks around the world. Have you ever just thought about sending a virtual version of yourself?
Have I ever? I mean, I've never been offered the chance, but we know, I mean, this is a hybrid event. People are watching online right now, and that surely has to be part of the future of events. I mean, I've done a ton of online speaking, this year. And I've been projected into rooms on big screens, and I think we're going to see a lot more of that. And then the next evolution is going to be, hologrammatic. Like I said, it starts with Whitney Houston, but it will trickle down to the likes of me. Eventually, I think that's certainly part of the future of these sorts of events.
Brilliant. We've got a question from Alex on the question of therapy. If we end up having counsellors on AI, how much will they kind of mould their responses to change us as humans?
Yeah, I mean, the whole question of AI therapy and AI counselling is a very interesting one, and it's a very timely one, because people have been reaching out to those kinds of services during the pandemic, because the pandemic has been incredibly stressful and a mental health crisis, and there's been real problems with accessing human therapists. So it's a huge question, and I think there are huge unanswered questions about it, and the efficacy clinically is yet to be proven. We're far from that. So I think these tools are interesting and fun and promising at the moment, but we don't understand how well they'll work. We don't understand how they'll impact people and their thinking truly, and we need, in the famous scientific phrase, we need a lot more research before we can reasonably be happy to put those in front of people in need of mental health services. We're not there yet.
I've got another question here from Ruth on Frank Sinatra and
Yes,
the
I love
return
that
of the
video.
greats. If anybody in the audience wants to put their hand up, there is a roving mic around. The question is, if musicians who were big in the past begin having hits again,
Yes.
what happens to our current generation of musicians?
Yeah, well, that's a question that a lot of people would have asked when recorded music came along, and there's no clear answer. Clearly, it will impact the music industry and impact, the wider economy in that way. Because, like as I said, the creative afterlife of musicians, popular musicians, can be huge. So this is really just another dimension on that. You can already sell Michael Jackson streams and downloads and concert videos till the cows come home now. In 10 years, you'll be able to sell Michael Jackson singing new songs that someone's only just written. When you get that kind of innovation, you get unexpected consequences that typically produce new opportunities. So, there'll be all kinds of living musicians who want to duet with Michael Jackson, and people will be super interested in that. And what if Dua Lipa and Michael Jackson get together and record a new song? There'll be all of that kind of stuff. So there'll be new opportunities too.
Okay. In the room, there must be a question in the room somewhere. There we are. Gentleman at the front.
Hi.
Just hold on 1 second. We'll get you a microphone.
Just thinking about recreating Michael Jackson, presumably the estate owns royalties from that?
I think that's going to be the way it goes. I mean, you would think so, yeah. I mean, and then I guess there will be, interesting conversations about when creative copyright ends, which I know people like Paul McCartney are very interested in right now, and Michael Jackson's estate will probably be interested in soon, and are you then, if you're generating, I guess, authentically new work, that's an opportunity for you to kick that down the road. Some stuff falls out of intellectual property and the archive becomes impossible because it's more than whatever it is, 70 years old, but you're generating a new archive. And I think that there's clear, part of some people watching this are watching to understand how AI impacts the economy. I think that's a part of how AI impacts the creative economy.
And to follow up then, the almost Michael Jackson, which presumably still sounds very like and still has all the wonderful stuff we like from Michael Jackson, but the creators can say this is actually, I don't know, Michael Jackson or something like that. I mean, do you see interesting legal things where,
Yes.
where the edges get blurred.
No, who knows? The way I see this playing out is that the estate will own the estate will own the algorithm, the AI that's been trained by the artist, okay? And you won't be able to try to emulate that and do knockoff versions of it. Of course, there'll be endless knockoff versions. People will try all day long, but yours will be the authentic and the best trained one. That's the way I imagine this going down. But we're going to see. We're going to find out, and it's going to be extremely interesting.
I would have thought Paul McCartney's had a good enough innings already to let his copyright
You would think
go.
so.
You would think so. David, that's been a really fascinating talk, taking us to so many areas, taking us into the future, giving us a whole new set of anxieties, but also opportunities and possibilities. So thank you so much. In case you missed it at the beginning, his newsletter is New World, Same Humans, and do please sign up to that. That's going to conclude today for this stage at CogX. You can, of course, tweet your comments and thoughts about it at hashtag CogX 2021. And if you would like to do some this kind of modern newfangled thing of in-person talking to each other, if you are at the King's Cross site today, you can go to the Leiterman, and there is a bar that serves real drinks to you by real people. So once again, thank you, David.
Thank you for having me. Thanks.